Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to our call on the Colorado Cleanse. Hopefully we'll answer all your questions and get you everything you need to know about the Colorado Cleanse and why to do it. Before I start, I want to talk about a couple of just housekeeping things here. How to interact with the podcast. To type in questions if you're watching online, just go to lifespa.com and click on the first article below the banner titled Episode 23, How You Can Benefit from the Colorado Cleanse. This is the viewing page for the podcast. Here you can submit your questions in the gray box below the video, or just watch the podcast live. Please do not type in your questions on our YouTube page because we will not see those questions, okay? To ask questions verbally, all you need to do is listen on your phone. To listen on your phone, just dial 425-440-5100. That's 425-440-5100 and enter the PIN number 124337#. 124337#. And that, to ask a question, just push *2 and you can ask your question. I'll see your screen that you've got your hand up and I'll call on you and we can answer your questions along the way as well. So please do that. It's always fun to hear people talk and hear their voices. All of us will hear that. If I call on you, I'll address you by the last name. I'm going to basically call you by what your cell phone is registered under. So it might be your city, it might be your last name. So just kind of tune in to help me find you, and it usually works out pretty good. There's no difference or preference on my side if it's a verbal or typed questions. I spend equal time on both. I'll do the best I can to help get through all your questions tonight. If you're registered for this live event, you receive an email tomorrow with a recap of the podcast as well as a link to watch or listen or download the podcast. So this will be available for you to actually watch or listen after the call as well. And you'll get an email if you were registered for this podcast. Upcoming podcasts that are, I think, really, really exciting. Next month, it's Ayurveda for Women's Health. It's on Monday, October 5th. And then you can sign up for these and any other podcasts at lifespa.com. In the next podcast we have after that is going to be on child psychology. It's going to be really awesome. I'm going to interview some experts about that. It sort of helps us understand us from the perspective of how what we were like as children and how we can help our children as well as ourselves. And then the one after that is really exciting. It's going to be about the question, if you were diagnosed with cancer today, it can be life-changing. And the question is, if you were diagnosed today, what would you do to change your life? And why do we have to wait until we're given that severe of a diagnosis to make dramatic, life-changing decisions in our life to improve our life? And it's based on my experience in our cancer clinic when I first came back from India, that so many of the people who actually did so well with cancer wasn't a matter of them did chemo or Western or Eastern or alternative medicine. It was the attitude that the cancer diagnosis forced them to have. And I'm thinking, what if we made those changes now without actually having the cancer diagnosis? We're going to be interviewing cancer survival and a medical doctor who supports these concepts. So it's going to be really exciting as well. So those are some upcoming podcasts. But here we are today talking about the Colorado Cleanse. Colorado Cleanse coming up here in October, very, very soon. The early bird registration for that, which is a week-long registration period, opens today. So you get really the best deal of the year to actually sign up for the Colorado Cleanse. That starts today, so definitely tune into that. The dates for the Colorado Cleanse are October 13th through the 26th, so it's a month and a half away. So it seems really early to be thinking about this, but it's a great savings for you if you're thinking about or locked into doing the Colorado Cleanse again. Personally, I wouldn't miss the Colorado Cleanse. I feel like one of the things it brings to the table is that we do live in a toxic world. There's no doubt that there's environmental pollutants, pesticides, preservatives, cancer-causing chemicals. They're all fat-soluble, okay? Fat-soluble chemicals are what are very difficult for us to process. They're supposed to go into our bodies, through the lymphatic system, into the blood, to the liver, in a processed manner to be then converted into something water-soluble and flushed out of the system. Well, the reason that we are not as great at detoxifying these fat-soluble chemicals like we once were is a handful of them. One, we're under a lot of stress. Stress takes out our digestive strength, takes our ability to detoxify well. In 1961, they took cholesterol out of our diets and they replaced it with wheat and corn. So we lost the ability to digest huge amounts of fats, which genetically, anthropologically, we have the ability to do. It was our major source of fuel. For the last 50 years, there was no fat to speak of in our diet, and we ate a lot of sugar. And by not having a lot of fat in our diet, our liver never got exercised to really be able to detoxify and digest fats, because it's both the same thing. Remember, the fats that we need for our brain, for our skin, for our heart, and our health, those are fatty nutrients. But there's also fatty chemicals that have to be broken down in a similar way. Also, the liver will then convert them to be water soluble, to be processed, but it's still the same process. Your detox pathways are your digestive pathways, and they're very, very important that we deal and look at both of those. So if you were a hunter-gatherer, for example, you'd maybe kill a woolly mammoth if you were lucky, and you'd eat the liver and the intestines and the brain. All the fatty stuff goes bad really fast. So they would eat that first. The ability to digest that much fat in one sitting was extraordinary. People get their gallbladders taken out today, and they don't even change their diet. Nothing seems to really change. We have such a diet that doesn't challenge the gallbladder to digest fats the way it should. The gallbladder has bile in it, which is an emulsifier for fat-soluble toxins and fat-soluble nutrients that's 15 times concentrated in your gallbladder. And you take the gallbladder with all this 15 times concentrate out, and we don't even change our diet and we digest fine. Something isn't right with that. That gallbladder and that intense amount of bile is for our ability to get rid of the fat-soluble toxins. And if we don't digest those fats well, greasy fried food well, hard to digest fats well, and we avoid them with a low-fat diet, which was imposed upon us by taking cholesterol out of our diet in 1961, and it has never been back. And until very recently, the FDA has put the cholesterol back, taking it off the nutrient concern list. So we're going to begin to see more good fats, saturated fats coming back into the American diet. But in a lot of ways, a lot of us who were in our 40s and 50s and so on, or even our 30s, 40s, 50s, we're sort of living proof with the diabetic epidemic that was really a bad idea. And our ability to digest well and detoxify well has been compromised. So for those reasons, I think really important to do the ghee, which is forcing the gallbladder to contract, forcing the bile to contract. And even if you don't have a gallbladder, these are important things to help make sure the bile ducts are producing adequate bile on demand. Even though you don't have the sac to store it, you still want to make sure that your liver is adequate to be able to produce the bile that you need to emulsify the fats and detoxify well on demand. These are really important pieces of the digestive and detox puzzle. So yeah, we need to reset digestive strength. We live in a toxic world. Many of us have put those toxins, fat-soluble toxins, into our fat cells, even into our brain as storage sites, because the liver can't keep up. So one of the reasons why I created the Colorado Cleanse is because people don't get that if you just go in there and detoxify or chelate out the toxic fats, and the liver is going, hey, I put those toxic fats there for a reason because I didn't know what to do with them, I'm too overwhelmed, then we just move them from one fat cell to another, and one of those could be your brain cells, which we don't want to necessarily do. And you can create a lot of cleansing sort of casualties that aren't necessarily in our best interest. So I'm like, why don't we reboot digestive strength first, make sure the liver is able to detoxify the fats, reboot digestive strength, the coordination of the stomach, the gallbladder, the pancreas, the duodenal enzymes, make all that work really well, and then pull those toxins out of your fat cells and the body can process it out of the body. To me, that makes the most sense of any cleanse. If you're thinking about doing one, make sure there's a digestive reboot component as well as a gentle, natural chelating process for the fat cells. That's why the Colorado Cleanse is so unique. And I feel like every year I do it, every 6 months I do it, I'm pulling out toxic fats from the old stuff that can actually literally linger, according to the science, up to 20 or 30 years, pulling that stuff out the best I can. Plus, I'm pulling out the recent stuff that may have accumulated, and I get a chance to reboot my digestive strength. And what I really love is that as I get older, as we all get older, I hear from so many of my clients who do the cleanse, their digestive strength seems to get stronger as we age, as opposed to getting weaker. And this is what the mandate is, that as you age, your digestion is going to get weaker. As you age, you're going to become B12 deficient. As you age, your digestive enzymes will not be produced, and you need to take an enzyme supplement, HCl supplement. I like to use herbs, whole herbs, natural herbs that are organic, that have the intelligence of the plant, not an extract of the plant, but the whole herb, with all the organic microbes, which provide a significant amount of the intelligence, 1,000 more microbes, 1,000% more microbes, 1,000 times more microbes than, say, a non-organic plant or an extracted herb, and then deliver that as a reset for optimal function. So I'm not only just doing the digestive job for my body with an enzyme or an HCl supplement, but these herbs are designed to reset, get on them, get better, get off. That's the plan that we have around rebooting your digestion, and of course, making sure that we can chelate those impurities out of your body. We're not really here to make you be on stuff for the rest of your life. We're here to get the digestive system to do its job on its own. This is an Ayurvedic principle, which is one of the reasons why I fell in love with Ayurveda, because it's really all about us getting back to doing what we were designed to do, which is to digest first and then be able to detoxify. And in our toxic world, I think we all realize that that's a really important piece of the puzzle. So this is a question and answer session, so forgive me for going on and on, but I have a few questions here that I want to answer for you. And one of them is, how can this cleanse benefit be used for weight loss? Well, the cleanse, as we said, let me just get this back here. Hang on one second. And along the way, if you have any questions, please push *2, and I'll listen. I'll look for your questions, and we'll go from there. What do we do? What does the cleanse do for weight loss? Well, one thing, weight loss, of course, has to do with fat burning. But fat burning, losing weight is not the goal of this cleanse. Being a better fat burner is definitely the goal of this cleanse. We've lost the ability to be good fat burners as a country, as a culture, because number one, we don't digest fats very well because they took it out of our diet in 1961. They replaced it with sugar, so the brain, which loves sugar, by the way, is just craving more and more and more of the sugar, and it doesn't have the ability to make fat burn, which is the stable, long-lasting, sleep through the night, non-emergency fuel. So the problem with our culture is we've lost the ability to become good fat burners. So what this cleanse is really about is helping us become a better fat burner, to be calm, burn the calm fuel. Yes, lose weight, but the fat-soluble toxins that we're trying to get rid of, they're in your fat cells, so we got to get them to burn. Fat-soluble molecules of emotion, old, mental, repetitive patterns of behavior that make you think and do the same dumb stuff again and again and again, are also fat-soluble toxins stored in your fat cells, making us do those same dumb things, making us crave those same foods, making us repeat the same dietary patterns again and again and again. And it's sort of a combination of old patterns of behavior, survival patterns we created as a child, that created molecules of emotion that store in our fat cells that make us think and crave the same stuff. Then that stress is processed through the intestinal tract, impacts your microbiology, and your bugs then send a message to your brain, yep, I'm really stressed out, I'm really nervous about this or that. And then the brain sends a message to your body, every cell in your body says, yep, we're really super stressed out, and therefore you better crave the emergency fuel, which is the sugar and not the fat. And that's sort of how it works according to the new science. It really works that way. So we have to pull each of the strings. One of the strings is, I want to reboot your digestive function. I want to make sure the skin of your intestinal tract is optimal so it can absorb only what it needs to absorb, not let overwhelming amounts of toxins and undigested food get into your bloodstream, your lymphatic system on the other side of your gut wall. Our intestinal skin has to be perfect. Can't be too dry, can't be too mucusy, has to be like the three little bears, just right. And it takes some doing to get it to be just right. So thus, the ghee and the khichdi and everything we do in our cleanse is designed to bring that intestinal skin back into balance, creating an environment for the really good microbes to proliferate, which is like a hugely important thing for your intestinal skin, for it to function well. Once we have the skin of your intestinal tract working, then we have the ability for us to work on the upper digestive part, reboot your stomach's ability to make digestive fire, hydrochloric acid and pepsin, reboot pancreatic enzyme flow, decongest the bile ducts and the pancreatic ducts so those enzymes and bile can get where they want to go, increase bile flow from your liver, boost duodenal enzymes which are responsible for digesting gluten, and create a coordinated upper digestive ability. So now we can digest upstream the hard to digest foods, assimilate downstream the good nutrients and process the bad waste. Now we have a digestive system that can do that. If we do that, plus now we're sending physiologically from a digestive, assimilated, detoxifying point of view, the gut is sending message to the brain, we're getting fed, we're getting rid of the waste, everything's a go. Then we go, okay, but we have now, as the body becomes functioning more balanced, we have the ability to look more clearly at old mental emotional patterns of behavior. The fats are being released out of the fat cells. The ghee facilitates a fat metabolic state. How it does that? Very simple. You do the ghee, which is clarified butter in the morning, and a no-fat diet all day long. We have dietary, lists for you to eat. 3 different tiers of eating during the main part of the cleanse, phase 2, which is when you take the ghee in the morning and a no-fat diet during the day. That forces you to burn your own fat because you have ghee in the morning and you burn that, you get energy. If you had fat in your diet, you would burn the fat in your diet, not your own fat. We're trying to get you to burn your own fat, your stored fat. So when you have the ghee in the morning, the gallbladder contracts, the body burns fat, you feel calm and stable, you start to release toxins, fat-soluble toxins, you burn the calm fuel, and you release molecules of emotion. And that gives you access to make transformational change. And that's why in phase 2, we give you a whole series of self-inquiry questions and exercises to perform during the actual cleanse, because it's this crazy mind of ours that is probably more responsible for our problems than any of the physiological factors. So if we can, pull some of the strings from a mental emotional perspective and take a look at what is making us angry, irritable, jealous, resentful in our daily lives, and take transformational action steps to free ourselves from those old patterns while those fat cells are being released and accessible to us, we can make really powerful emotional changes. We're doing powerful reboots on digestive strength, on healing and environment for the microbiology to be supported, and of course, then going after all the old toxins that are built up in your fat cells. So it's a really super comprehensive thing. So yeah, it's all about all that. The chemicals, the toxins, the emotions, they're all fat soluble. So if you start burning that, yes, you're gonna lose weight. But more importantly, again, because of our lack of fats for the last 50 years, we become lousy fat burners and really good sugar burners. We have an epidemic of blood sugar issues, and the blood sugar goes up and down and up and down. It creates an epidemic of prediabetes in our country. Well, that up and down is a huge stress. It's a fat storing, sugar burning, lymphatic congesting, which is your first line of detoxifying defense, is your lymph system, and liver congesting energy. So when you're burning sugar, you're congesting your liver, you're congesting your lymph, you're basically craving the emergency fuel, telling your body life's a fat storing emergency, and you're not burning your fat. So by having you eat 3 meals a day during this cleanse, breakfast, nothing, no snacking, lunch, nothing, no snacking, supper, nothing, no snacking, it forces us to be better fat burners by stabilizing the blood sugar. The key to this cleanse is that we stabilize your blood sugar. And this is why I say over and over again in our Colorado Cleanse book that the most important thing is that you do not strain during this cleanse, that you don't feel you have to go into this austere, beat yourself up kind of dietary plan. That the idea is that if you're feeling strained, hungry, the body's perceiving this experience as an emergency, which is a fat storing, sugar burning response. We don't want that. If you're feeling strained, eat. And in phase 2 of the cleanse, you can have rice and beans, you can add soup, salad, fruit, even lean meat during the dietary at that point. There's a whole list that tells you exactly how to do that, but you can eat 3 of those meals a day and be pretty good and make darn sure that you're not actually straining, because straining will undermine our success. Unlike any other cleanse where you feel like I have to be, I have to go through this ringer and feel exhausted and feel starving the entire time. It's not the case. Okay, and in the fall cleanse in particular, more than the spring cleanse, there's a tendency in the fall to be sort of in rebuilding mode. We're going into the winter. In the spring, we're leaving winter and we're cleaning out all the excess. So there's a natural decrease in appetite in the spring cleanses. It's easier to do an austere cleanse in the spring. I find that I like eating a little bit more in the fall cleanse. So go with how you feel. Don't think this cleanse is the last cleanse you're ever going to do and you have to just beat your body up. Think about it as this is a process that I go through twice a year, and I go with how my body's feeling. If I feel like eating less, eat less. If you feel like eating more, eat more. But please don't strain. That will undermine your success because we won't get into the fat burning and stabilize the blood sugar, which is going to give you the long-term benefits. So yeah, absolutely. On average, people lose 7 to 17 pounds during the cleanse according to our research, and absolutely happens all the time. Remember, star 2 if you have any questions, and I'll get to those in just a second. Another question, can mung beans be substituted for other food as they are hard to find and expensive? Can the cleanse be done by someone who doesn't tolerate beans well and grains and starches? Yes. How the cleanse works is you have phase 1, which is 4 days of a really clean diet. No wheat, no dairy, no nuts, no fish, no allergenic foods. It's fresh foods, fresh vegetables, no processed foods, really, really simple foods. Easy to digest, anybody can do it. We give you digestive reset herbs. We start them at that point to begin to start doing the digestive reset. Phase 2 is when you start taking the ghee. The only golden rule in phase 2 is a no-fat diet. We give you 3 tiers of that diet. The nourishing plan, which is rice, beans, soup, salad, fruit, and even lean meat if you need it. There's the rejuvenate plan, which is rice, beans, and vegetables, and maybe oatmeal in the breakfast. And then there is the transform, which is just rice and beans, or khichdi, which is rice and split yellow mung beans. Now, split yellow mung beans are a special bean according to Ayurveda and according to the new science about mung beans. They're the only bean of all the beans, and it's really crazy that Ayurveda knew this. I don't know how they figured this out, but they knew that these split yellow mung beans were special. They have anti-flatulence factors that are well documented. They are natural anti-inflammatories. There's a whole inflammatory pathway that split yellow mung beans breaks that pathway up. And the only other thing that breaks up that powerful inflammation pathway is green tea. Green tea and mung beans were the only 2 that did it. And when they split the yellow mung beans, the husk falls off, makes it super easy to digest. The khichdi, when you take it, in the old days, they would take the husk off 1 grain at a time. Now we just do it, it's automated, we think it's really bad. But thousands of years ago, people would spend time taking the husk off, splitting the mung beans, taking the husk off, putting it together, cooking it into a medicinal soup. And it was baby food, first baby's food, and it was the food you gave people to rebuild them. It was convalescence food. And it heals the intestinal tract, supports the skin, gets rid of the inflammation, super easy to digest. So the mung beans are sort of important for doing that super healing process. So if you can do mung beans and rice, that's great. If you don't have the ability to digest grains and beans, and I get that, and that's because you have intestinal irritation, and the digestive coordination of your stomach and your pancreas and your gallbladder and your liver, duodenal enzymes, it isn't optimized, and we haven't optimized that yet. I can't tell you how many patients who couldn't do grains now can do grains, who couldn't do beans now can do beans. And this is a way of actually rebooting that process. But remember, the golden rule in phase 2 is no fat. And it doesn't mean you have to eat grains. It doesn't mean you have to eat beans. It doesn't have to eat anything. You could actually do it on lean meat if you wanted to and do no fat and still get the benefit from this cleanse. So you can do this cleanse and even stick to a paleo way. However, I must say that if you have issues with grains, I would highly suggest that we figure out a way to reboot your digestive strength so you have the digestive birth to digest those harder to digest foods as opposed to just ignoring them and creating a diet that doesn't use them. Sort of like if we take the wheat out of the diet, the dairy out of the diet, the grains out of the diet. Why? Because I feel yucky when I eat them. Okay, well, what about the hard to digest toxins in our environment? The mercury that's on all the organic leafy green vegetables from the coal mine plumes that cover all of America that you can't avoid. Those are hard to digest fat-soluble toxins. If you don't have the digestive strength to digest wheat, dairy, gluten, beans, grains, and hard to digest fats, then those toxins, that mercury is going to go through your upper digestion undigested into your intestinal tract, irritate your intestinal wall, go through your intestinal wall, into your lymph, into your bloodstream, into your fat cells, and that could even be your brain. And now we have many, many cases of people seeing more mercury deposits in the brain than ever before. Why? I believe it's because our digestive strength has broken down, and all we do to fix it is say, well, don't eat this and don't eat that and don't eat this. And I don't really care if you don't eat wheat, dairy, gluten, these things ever again. That's not the point. The point is that you should be able to digest them, and that weakness is representative of a detox weakness in our body that may be setting us up for real serious problems from these toxins deep in our tissues down the road. And then you can, not eat gluten. Doesn't really matter. No one's going to live or die if they don't eat wheat or dairy. That is not the issue. But making sure you have good digestive strength, that's the real point here. That's the point of the Colorado Cleanse, not to make everybody wheat eaters, not to make everybody dairy eaters. That's not the issue. I just want, and I just want you to all have great digestion so we don't find ourselves in a diet where you find yourself in a situation when you can't detoxify well, and number two, you're sort of going down that road where you have to keep taking more and more foods out of your diet because you don't digest them well either, and the digestive strength becomes weaker and weaker. So those are some things that we want to talk about. One more question. I've been mixing my ghee with homemade almond milk in the mornings. Is this more beneficial to drink the ghee alone? If so, why? Not really. We suggest when you take the ghee in the morning to mix it with a little bit of warm almond milk or a little bit of warm, even rice milk. Traditionally it was done with cow's milk, and this is the one time of the day where you get to actually eat some fat. And so you have that milk with it, and sometimes it's just not palatable for a lot of people to take the ghee straight, and I totally get that. Although our ghee is really, really tasty. The ghee that we're using is all grass-fed. It has 500 times as much CLA, conjugated linoleic acid, as regular, as the grain-fed ghee or butter would have. So it's really, really potent ghee. It tastes really different, but mixing it with some almond milk is completely fine to do that. Another thing about the ghee that I think is just sort of fascinating, ghee is primarily, short chain, medium chain, and long chain fatty acids, but it has the highest concentration of butyric acid of any food on the planet. Butyric acid is something that your intestinal tract literally makes on its own. There's a handful of microbes in your gut whose job it is to make butyric acid, which is basically ghee. And Clostridium butyricum and others are designed to make the ghee in your own intestinal tract. That's how important it is for your gut to have ghee. It literally makes its own. and it supports the health of the intestinal wall. The colon cells use the ghee as energy. It feeds microbes, it boosts immunity. It's a powerful agent in our gut. And again, sort of like the mung beans, how did they know? How did they know that ghee was so good for our gut? Now we find out, 5,000 years later, oh, there's bugs that literally make ghee in your gut. And of course, it was always grass-fed. So yes, the ghee in the morning with a little almond milk to make it tasty is absolutely fine, no problem at all. If already I'm doing most of what you suggested, do I need to do the intense calorie cleanse as I'm normal weight? And I'm wondering if my system metabolizes all the good nutrition I ingest, even though I'm nearing 77 years old. And this is a great question. Do I need to do the extreme program or the non-extreme program? And here I say, listen to your body. When I do the Colorado cleanse, like if I go last year, I didn't feel like doing a really aggressive khichdi only cleanse. So I ate more off the nourishing plan, and I had 3 nice meals a day, and I felt no strain whatsoever. Last spring, I was just all about eating khichdi. I felt great. I didn't crave anything. Yes, it's boring to eat khichdi. I absolutely give you that. But I wasn't craving like I needed nutrition. And so we'll see how it goes this time. But listen to your body. Don't make it like, I'm going to do a hard cleanse. I'm going to do an easy cleanse. Listen to what your body is saying and then do exactly what your body says, and you'll get the best reward, because we don't really know how our body's going to feel along the way. All right, I have from Twin Cities, Minnesota. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi. I did a cleanse like 2 years ago. I study Ayurveda and have done Ayurvedic cleanses before, and had trouble with the cleanse and had trouble with cleanses in the past. Like, my body seemed to handle cleanses well. Do you experience this often, and what do you recommend?
Well, tell me what kind of trouble you had.
After doing the full cleanse and doing the purge at the end, I went back to normal eating very slowly, and then my body just did not react well. Just had no appetite, no energy, weight loss, like significant weight loss. And just lasted for quite a while. Yeah, like months and months after.
So would you say that you're more on the thin side?
Yes.
And do you have any digestive issues?
Not right now necessarily, no.
Okay. So sometimes what happens is that when you do the cleanse, and this is what we talk about a lot in the cleanse, is to make sure that we have the ability to dial up or dial down the intensity of the cleanse. One way to dial it down is to take less of the ghee, take less of the herbs, eat off the nourishing plan, which is the rice, the beans, the soup, the salad, the fruit, and even the lean meat, and then go into it without the austerity. And sometimes when we go into a cleanse and we push it too hard, then you can become exhausted. The other thing is making sure that if you are a little on the run down side of things and you go into the cleanse and you do it really, really hard, you can push yourself a little bit too hard. So that's why we spend so much time rebooting digestive strength and making the digestive system as strong as we possibly can, and then giving lots of instructions how to dial it down to make it more individualized. If you're having lean meat on the cleanse, it's a little bit hard to get, depleted. You know what I mean?
Right. So like, can your body just kind of overcome by the amount of toxins that are being released? If you push it too hard, is that?
Well, there's that too. There's that for sure. If your body is beginning to push impurities out of the system, and you've got the pedal to the metal with lots and lots of detoxifying herbs, and you're taking lots and lots of ghee, and you're on a super, super austere diet, then it can be a lot. And this is why, like I said in the last question to that one guy who was 77 years old, is don't go into, or in general, don't go into this cleanse thinking I have to push. And it's so funny, because as much as we try to tell people not to push during the cleanse, it's our mindset that we feel like, I really want to get the most out of this, so I really want to sort of strain a little bit. And the point is that in this particular cleanse, we're working with your body's nervous system that says, if I'm under stress, I'm going to store fat. And since we're trying to get you to be a better fat burner, we have to make sure the ride is comfortable. Yeah, boring, but not stressed out. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay, that helps a lot. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And then, hang on 1 second, and I'm having some technical difficulties here, trying to find more questions here from you guys. Can I get a little technical support here? Somehow my screen disappeared. Hang on a second. So one of the other common questions that comes up, a lot in the cleanse is, how do I deal with the cleanse during a busy work week, and how do I work, and do I have to retreat during the cleanse? And the answer to that is no, you do not have to. You can. The cleanse is designed for you to actually work during the cleanse. It's not necessarily a retreat. The cleanse is designed to be able to work. I've worked, during the cleanse. And yes, people can do a retreat during the cleanse for sure, but the idea is to actually be able to work, go about your business, pick up your kids, take care of things, and do all of that the very, very best that you can. And if you have time to retreat, then yeah, definitely go. We actually have some retreat ideas on how to make the cleanse last, add the yoga, the breathing, meditation, all that, all of which is great to do, but not necessarily a requirement. The cleanse as a dietary cleanse is enough. Another cleanse that we see, hang on one second here. Another cleanse that we see is another question that we have a lot of times is if one has a gallbladder removed, it's harder to digest fats. So what can one do to increase digestive process? Well, like I said before, if you have the gallbladder removed, you still make bile, and you make bile on demand to help emulsify the fats. Your bile, maybe other than your lymphatic system, maybe the most important thing we have to look at when we're looking at digestive strength and detoxification ability. Bile is like a Pac-Man, and it Pac-Mans and gobbles up toxins in your liver. Then you eat some fatty food and it gets shunted into your small intestine, where it continues to Pac-Man and gobble up a lot of yucky stuff. If you have a lot of fiber in your diet, which is a really good thing to have, it can attach to that fiber and take all those toxins to the toilet. Hunter-gatherers, for example, had 100 grams of fiber per day in their diet. Americans have 10 or 15. Seriously, one of the major differences between our diet and hunter-gatherers' diet was the amount of fiber they had. Well, today, a lot of folks have so much disturbance of the gut microbiology in their gut, so much irritation of the intestinal skin, that they can't really handle the fiber. And the fiber that they eat can sometimes be feeding some of the bad bacteria. So unfortunately, we can't just go, okay, here's a bunch of fiber and you're going to be fine. That's why beans are so harsh on people so much. People say, I can't eat beans. That's because beans are probably the highest source of fiber on the planet. And if you eat a lot of beans, you easily get the fiber. If you look at the diet of the centenarians, people who live over 100 years old, all around the world, the number one thing, in addition to their red wine, is that they eat beans, lots and lots of beans every single day. Mostly a plant-based diet, 90% plant-based, not meat-based, but they eat a lot of beans, lots of fiber. So the intestinal tract really, if the bugs are right, really thrive on those beans, and the fiber attaches to the bile and takes the bile to the toilet. If you don't have adequate fiber, beans, whatever, then that bile can be reabsorbed. In fact, 94% of the average American of the bile gets reabsorbed back to liver with all the toxins in tow. And that bile can get reused in your body up to 17 times. Average American, 17 times the bile is gobbling up yuckiness, toxins, dumps in the intestinal tract, gobbles up what it can, gets reabsorbed, believe it or not, back to the liver, dumps it into the liver, into the bloodstream, gobbles up in the liver, gobbles up in the intestinal tract, gets reabsorbed. So literally, the body is bringing these toxins back into the body, as opposed to having the fiber to escort that to the toilet. This is a problem, right? And the problem is because and if you can't eat the fiber, well then we're definitely going to just be overwhelming our liver more and more and more and more. This is why it's so important to reset digestive strength, reset microbiology, and reset our ability to detoxify really well. And as you can see, it makes perfect sense that when you take away the fats out of our diet, which we did 60 years ago, it left us with the inability to exercise that gallbladder and the bile making pathways. So we really were great fat burners, great fat digesters, great good fat deliverers, and great bad fat detoxifiers. All those I just think is really fascinating. So if you don't have a gallbladder, yes, you can do this cleanse. But maybe the ghee, instead of taking, you take 2 teaspoons of ghee instead of 6 or 8 or 10 or 12, and you see how you do. Again, forcing the gallbladder to contract. The herbs we give you during the cleanse, the beet cleanse, for example, are designed to roto-root out and clean out the bile ducts and the pancreatic ducts. Remember, your bile comes from your liver and gallbladder. The pancreatic enzymes come from your pancreas. Those 2 tubes meet up in 91% of the people in America or in the world, and then they go into the intestinal tract. So if your bile ducts are congested because you had years of constipation or years of intestinal stress, then the bile can't move and the enzymes can't move. So now you don't have digestive enzymes, so they say you should take them. You don't have bile flow, so you can't eat your fats. You don't have both of those, enzymes and bile, are the buffers for the acid coming from your stomach. And if you don't have the buffers for your acid in your stomach, one of 2 things are going to happen. The acid is going to stay in your stomach and not leave, causing heartburn, or the stomach will just turn off the fire production completely, or in a big way, and then you won't be able to digest the hard to digest proteins, which become the allergens, the gluten, the dairy, the nuts, the meats, this fish and things like that become bowel irritants, causing lymphatic congestion, and then reroute those toxins back to the liver, causing this whole process to start over again. Sort of amazing, and that's what we're trying to unravel here with this thing. And that's why the ghee was such a great way to cleanse, because it just forces the bile to flow, forces the liver to make the bile, forces the body to burn fat, and the ghee, of course, provides the butyric acid in the gut to heal the intestinal wall, as well as provide the microbiology what it needs to create more of this butyric acid to support optimal health for the growth of proliferation of better microbes, a healthier microbiome. Hope that makes sense. Can you give an idea of what's entailed in the cleanse? For example, is khichdi the entire time supplemented by herbs? Well, like I said, there's 4 days of doing a real pure diet, which can be, we have apples, beets that you take 1 beet per day, a green drink. It can be done with, oatmeal, non-glutinous foods, fresh vegetables, fruits during the first 4 days with the digestive herbs. Then you do 7 days of the ghee in the morning, followed by the khichdi all throughout the day, as the transformed, more austere version of the diet. Khichdi, rice and beans with vegetables and oatmeal as a secondary plan. And then the third, more kind of relaxed plan called the nourishing plan is rice, beans, soup, salad, fruit, and even a little lean meat. So so you have 3 dietary choices. The golden rule there, again, no fat, that's the key. And then you have 3 more days at the end where we amp up and ramp up the digestive herbs to reboot your digestion again, while we go back to the original diet you had in the first 4 days. You have 4 days of a really clean diet, the cleanse actually with the ghee, and then 3 days of a nice clean diet. And what happens is, as you reboot the digestive, when you go from the main cleanse, the phase 2 part, to the third part, the phase 3, you're so relieved eating, fruits and salads and vegetables and greens and quinoa and things like that you're like, I'm good with that. And the craving to binge after a cleanse just goes away. I mean, I hear it so often with doing this cleanse. People say, oh, I don't even feel like I need to go back to eating the regular food and pasta and things like that. And how many of us feel like we have to eat so much food to be satisfied? One study showed that the average American eats 100% more food than they need. We eat the 100% of food we need. The average American eats an extra 100% more than we actually need. And in one study, they just ate 30% less than the extra 100% that they need. Still eating 70% more than we actually need, right? The benefits were, it's called calorie restriction. Across the board benefits: weight loss, blood pressure issues down, cardiovascular strength better, blood sugar benefits. I mean, across the board, calorie restriction has been documented to be one of the most powerful things we can do for our optimal health and longevity, which is just eating less food. So what we're doing with this is making you a fat burner so you don't think about eating so much food, making your intestinal tract functioning better so you assimilate the nutrition that you need and you don't overeat because the gut is so boggy it can't deliver the nutrition the way it should, so the brain keeps sending the message like, when do I get fed around here? And then it keeps sending craving messages and it never gets satisfied, and we keep eating and eating and eating and overeating, and that's how it works. So pretty fascinating, I think. I really feel the need to cleanse now. Can I do the emotional freedom cleanse now and still do the cholera cleanse in mid-October? Or is that too much cleansing for a short time? Actually, no. I would, if you know, the emotional freedom cleanse is a 4-day cleanse, very similar in nature to our short home cleanse, which is a 4-day cleanse, and it's a free ebook you can download anytime to do our quick 4-day cleanse. It's really a cool, beautifully color ebook, tells you exactly how to do it. And that works really well for a quick, short cleanse. The emotional freedom cleanse is that 4-day, but I put together a whole series of emotional detoxifying videos to really go after those emotions. So if you did a quick 4-day now and really dove into those emotions, then when you do the Colorado cleanse, and you would just have to dial it up or down based on how you feel and not push it too hard, of course. You would be fine. And then if you're really looking to go after the emotions, that would be a great way to sort of prime the pump now and then go into it, and then have the exercise that I give in the Colorado cleanse, the self-inquiry exercise, as a guide to take you to the next level. I think it's a great idea. But again, always based on your comfort. Strain means store fat, store emotions. It unravels our success. How do you feel with hepatitis B condition in the cleanse? You know, whenever you have a condition like that, I would always check with your doctor, make sure that doctors give you a clean bill of health and there's no problem. Generally speaking, again, if you dial the cleanse down and eat really well during the cleanse, it can be very, very fine. A lot of folks who have hepatitis B don't have a lot of symptoms, so they're fine. So it really depends on your individual situation. But generally speaking, it can be okay. Check with your doctor, make sure you feel strong, and dial it down to be appropriate to your needs. Is it possible for people without a gallbladder to be able to burn fat as fuel? Absolutely. People without a gallbladder don't think it's all over. You know, we have a diet in our culture which doesn't require a gallbladder anymore. We're not eating the brains of a woolly mammoth anymore, or the intestinal tract of some large animal. We don't do that any longer. I think that maybe we have to help the body be able to digest those kinds of fats, but in this day and age, because we can modify our diet, we can really make it happen. You can eat a little bit of fat at every meal and get the same amount of fat as you would need if you were eating the brains of a woolly mammoth, for example, and do really, really well without a gallbladder. I would never say that without a gallbladder you can't cleanse or you can't burn fat. Absolutely not. You just have to be a little bit more careful to keep nudging that gallbladder to handle some good fats and not just eat a no-fat diet. That's the problem. A no-fat diet, according to some studies, is the #1 cause of gallbladder disease. So we don't want to do that. We want to, get the gallbladder. Your bile is going to be made by your liver now. So we want to keep asking that liver to make it, but not overdo it. So it's a very gentle balancing act. And then once you kind of begin to navigate and manage that, you're doing great. And of course, the cleanse, we ask you to do that as well with like maybe 2 teaspoons of ghee as opposed to 10. But see how you feel. What are the precautions you do take if you no longer have a gallbladder? Same exact thing. Another question about gallbladder. Absolutely you can do it. Start really, really low with the herbs. Instead of taking the herbs 3 times a day, take them once a day. Do the nourishing plan as opposed to the austere khichdi only plan during the cleanse, and definitely dial down the herbs to once a day and take less ghee. 2 teaspoons of ghee to start. Even 1 teaspoon to ghee to start. I've been hearing more and more about parasites. Does Colorado cleanse take care of parasites? Parasites are a fat-soluble toxin. So if you don't have good gallbladder flow, you're not going to emulsify those parasites. If you don't have really good stomach acid, you're not going to break down those parasites. So here we go again. If you have weak digestive acid, can't digest wheat or dairy, and you have bad bile flow, and bile, by the way, regulates your poop. If you don't have good bile flow, you don't poop regularly. It regulates how, if you're constipated, generally you have poor bile flow. So if you have any of those things, poor bile flow means no buffers for the acid, which generally means lower acid, which means parasites can go through undigested. The bile flow isn't there to emulsify those fat-soluble toxins, the parasites, so you become more vulnerable to those. And then they can outperform some of the good microbes in your intestinal tract. So we want to prevent that by rebooting digestive strength. That's exactly what the cleanse is all about. Plus, the ghee forces you to burn those fat-soluble toxins, so it helps to facilitate them. Plus, it creates an environment in your intestinal tract where the bad bugs just don't like it. There's 3 kinds of bugs in your gut: good guys, bad guys, and neutral spectator microbes, which don't do anything, like spectators in the stands. They clap, but they're not playing the game. And they take up most of the seats. And unfortunately, in our Western microbiome, we have way too many spectators and not enough good guys to outperform the bad guys. So the goal of the cleanse is to actually help the body get rid of the spectators, convert those into good guys, and then outperform the bad guys. And that's why after the cleanse, we have a whole series of probiotic resetting. And in the world of probiotics, there's colonizing probiotics, which actually make permanent residence, and there's transient probiotics, which work really well, but they go through you and they work while they go through you. And if you stop taking them, they stop working. So there's some pretty good science about a handful of strains of probiotics that actually stick to your gut and repopulate new, good, permanent residence. And that's what we use after the cleanse with our gut revival, which gets rid of the bad guys, gets rid of some of the spectators, and repopulates with good guys. And you follow that up with Flora Restore, which is just the repopulating, colonizing microbes to really reboot a digestive, a microbiological environment, a better microbiome, now that we've created an environment with the ghee and the cleanse to hopefully support the proliferation of the good guys. Hope that makes sense. But parasites are a big deal, and these are the natural ways, as opposed to taking these really aggressive parasite killers, and sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to go to the medical doctor and get some medications to take care of business. But this was the traditional way to deal with that, to keep your body fighting against those parasites so they don't become, the major population of your microbiome, which is, pretty interesting when you begin to understand how all that works. Is the inquiry in the Colorado cleanse the same as the inquiry in the emotional freedom cleanse? No, it's different. 2 different sets of emotional freedom, which is why of self-inquiry. That's why I think the emotional freedom question, doing it now and then doing the self-inquiry in the Colorado cleanse would be cool, because they're 2 different levels of emotional self-inquiry, which would be a really cool process, actually. I love the emotional freedom cleanse. It really forces you to dig deep. And when you're burning the fat, releasing the molecules of emotion, it's just a really cool thing. Is there a meal plan guide included in the cleanse? I need help knowing what to eat on the cleanse. What are the top 3 to 5 supplements that one should take in their diet after the cleanse? Absolutely, there's meal plans. We guide you. Half the book is a recipe book for the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. We give you all kinds of options, all kinds of recipes. Absolutely. After the cleanse, we have our free monthly eating guide. I don't know if you guys know about that, but every month we put out a free packet of information of all the foods harvested in August, September, October, November, and all the articles I've written about the microbiome that's changing from season to season to season, so you begin to understand that. Emma Frisch, who's like a superstar from the Food Network, has taken all of our seasonal grocery lists and whipped them into these crazy, awesome, easy to cook recipes, which we give to you for free every single month. So that's a great way to follow up after the Colorado cleanse. And then the herbs we have during the Colorado cleanse are the digestive reset herbs. They can be continued for a month after. We ask you to do that and finish those herbs to keep that digestive reset going. And of course, depending on your individual needs, you might want to do them a little longer if you need a little more reset. I know I needed them longer in the beginning as well. Currently on acid reflux drug, I know this will help the gut problem. You will wean off the drug during the cleanse. when you're on a medication, even if it's a heartburn medication, I don't suggest you get off of anything during the cleanse unless you feel like you just simply don't need it any longer. But generally speaking, we stay on the medications that you're prescribed during the cleanse, and then you work with your doctor to get off them. One of the things, in this case, you would use the cool digest during the cleanse. By getting better bile flow, that means you have better pancreatic enzyme flow, better bile flow, better buffers for the acid. Then the stomach says, oh, there's all those buffers down there. I can make as much acid as I need and get rid of it and let it leave my stomach. Problem is, a lot of times the stomach holds on to the acid way too long because there's sluggish bile flow, sluggish pancreatic enzyme production, and therefore I don't have the buffers, so it stays in the stomach and causes acid reflux. By increasing bile flow, by increasing pancreatic enzyme flow, you end up having better buffers, therefore less acid. So be aware that we're going right after the underlying cause that may be, a factor in your condition, but you want to work with your doctor to make sure that we don't, take any risks there. Okay. Does the colorado cleanse assist in bringing the body back in pH back into balance? Well, yeah, it absolutely does, because one of the things we work on in the colorado cleanse is the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is the drains in your body. Here's your intestinal tract. On the outside of your intestinal tract is what's called the gut-associated lymphatic tissue. That's where all the detoxification, the first line of detoxification takes place. Then if that gets yucky, then everything goes back to your liver, okay? But the first thing that's supposed to happen is your lymph's supposed to work to help detoxify the fat-soluble chemicals and toxins, and then the body figures out what are the good fats and what are the bad fats. And that lymphatic system is a major regulator of the pH of your blood. So really the best way, and of course we know the best lymph movers are like greens and leafy greens. They help alkalize the system. And the more alkaline you are, the more your lymph can flow, and the better the body can naturally detoxify. So yes, this will naturally balance your pH, and by rebooting digestive strength, by breaking the hard to digest foods down in your stomach and not letting them go undigested into the intestinal tract, into the lymph, potentially into your blood, those proteins are very acidic and they tend to skew the pH to be more acidic. Again, all boils down to upper digestive strength and the integrity of your intestinal skin. If that intestinal skin breaks down because of stress, we know the stress plows through the gut, takes out the good bugs, right? And leaves the environment unhealthy. So excess toxicity can move through the intestinal tract, so-called leaky gut syndrome. But there's more to it than just leaky gut syndrome. Bad bugs can get through there, toxins can get through there, genetic material can process through there. The integrity of your skin, where the microbes live, is so critically important. So we want to just do everything we can with kind, gentle kid gloves to support the environment so the good optimal function can be reestablished. I just did the master cleanse for 20 days. I don't want to stop cleansing. How does the colorado cleanse compare? Well, the master cleanse is very, very spicy, a lot of cayenne. We're at the end of the summer. This is the hottest time of the year. The nature is saying, I'm going to give you apples and pomegranates and watermelons to purgate and pull the impurities, heat out of your body. This is a time that nature is saying, let's dissipate heat and not accumulate it. So certain body types can be fine, but a hot pitta body type doing the hot master cleanse at the end of the summer might overheat and irritate and inflame the body. The master cleanse tends to work by very aggressive herbs that clean scrub your intestinal tract, which I think can have value, no doubt about it. Their herbs are valuable and they work good. But in the long run, depending on who you are, in the long run, you want to create an environment where the microbes and soothe and heal and nourish the intestinal tract, not cleanse, scrub. So that's the difference. We're a kinder, gentler approach that forces the body to burn fat versus a real cleanse. Plus, our whole cleanse is about rebooting digestive strength. So after the master cleanse, it might be a great thing to do the colorado cleanse because it's going to be rebooting function, healing the intestinal wall, creating an environment where the microbes can proliferate. It might be just what you need to kind of rebound from the scrubbing that the master cleanse may have done for you. So it might be a good 1-2 punch for you. So I would suggest, definitely giving it a go. I drink aloe vera with water every morning. Can I do that on the cleanse? Yeah, you can do that on the cleanse. It's not a problem. if you need it. If you don't need it, then you probably don't need it. You know, if you need it for elimination or whatever, but you don't have to take it. Is the cleansed diet basically just how you should be eating all the time? No fat, whole foods? No. The cleansed diet, the first one, is a very austere diet. It has basically no glutinous grains, no meat. So it's a really light diet, and you wouldn't want to be on it for very, very long. I really am a big fan of the diet changing dramatically seasonally from one season to the next, to the next, to the next, which is why we put out our 3-season diet challenge, our free monthly eating guide. And it was based on some crazy research that I heard. When deer eat bark in the winter, they have microbes to digest bark. When they eat leaves in the summer, they have microbes to digest leaves. But if they ate bark in the summer, they wouldn't have the right microbes. It would cause a level of indigestion. It could literally kill the deer. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And I wrote a book called The 3-Season Diet, Eating with the Seasons Ayurvedically, back in 2000. And I'm very into seasonal eating. But when I read that, I was like, wow. And with the understanding of the microbiome, that the microbes are changing from one season to the next, boosting immunity in the winter, getting rid of heat in the summer, getting rid of mucus in the spring. These are the things that these bugs are trying to do for us, as well as the biochemistry of the plants we eat. These are really critical pieces of the puzzle. So there is a high-fat season, which is coming around the corner in winter. And there's a low-fat season in the spring with leafy greens and sprouts. And there's a high-energy, high-carb diet in the summer months to give us energy for the long days. So we go from the low-fat to the high-carb to the high-protein, high-fat diet for 4 months of the year. High-protein, high-fat in the winter, low-fat in the spring, high-carb in the summer. The 3 best-selling diets actually exist in nature for 4 months of the year each. So make those dramatic changes. The cleansing diet, although it's really a healthy diet during the phase 1 and phase 3, I wouldn't suggest that all the time, but it's definitely something you can get away with in the spring and the fall as part of a cleansing diet, because they're very seasonal. It's a very seasonal diet for those 2 times a year. But come winter, you need to increase the fats for sure and increase the proteins for sure. Okay, I'm going to go back to the phones and see if anybody's on the phone with a question. *2 if you have any questions at all on *2. Otherwise, again, a little short reminder, the Colorado Cleanse Early Bird Special is open today. It's open for a week. So you get all kinds of super discounts. You can go to lifespot.com. Right on the homepage, there's a big blue banner that says Colorado Cleanse Open. So you click on it, get all the information. There's more videos to watch if you want more info about the cleanse. I got a question here from Califon, New Jersey. Are you there?
Yeah. Hi, Dr. Douillard. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I read on the internet just a outline of the cleanse, and it started with, and it includes asana and meditation, pranayama. So I'm curious, is that like an extra cost for those CDs? Because what if we already, are doing some kind of asana, meditation, etc.? And then I also saw that it includes like khichdi that you send to me. Can you just make your own khichdi?
Oh, yeah.
And then the other question about the self-inquiry exercises, are they included, or is that on the CD? Is that extra?
Okay, I'm going to try to remember all those questions. First, yes, the Colorado Cleanse self-inquiry exercises are included in the book that you get. So they're all listed right there with exercise and everything. It's included in the program. So that's part of the Colorado Cleanse for sure. I think a really important part, actually. The asana, the khichdi that we send is great because it makes it super easy. I find that I can just throw that packet in the stove and within 15 minutes make a meal if I'm running late. Otherwise, we cook our own. The recipe for making your own is absolutely in the book. We do sell organic split yellow mung beans separately in a big bag. So if you want to just get the beans, they're a little hard to find the organic ones. So that's something you can do, but absolutely you can make your own khichdi. It's fun to do that. Sometimes it's nice to have a few of those packets around for those emergency meals when you're, got to have something in your tummy. And then the last question was the asanas. Absolutely, if you have a yoga, breathing, meditation program that you like, you absolutely can stick with yours and not necessarily do ours. And that's sort of what we call part of the retreat plan, where you do the yoga, the breathing, the meditation. The self-inquiry, I feel like everybody should test that water a little bit, even if you're busy. Sometimes maybe too busy to do it, but I get that. but it's so important to kind of pull that emotional string along the way while you're cleansing, because it's an opportunity, right? You're getting rid of all this fat, molecules, emotions are being opened up, available for you, and all you got to do is just look at them. But sometimes we just stay physical and do the physical part, which is also fine. You're going to do great, reset digestion, detoxify, all that good stuff, lose weight, be a better digester. That's all good. But, you know, I always try to nudge people to take a look at the emotions, because, you know, this crazy mind of ours that keeps on taking us out, you know, year after year. So, you know, do the best you can with that. But yeah, absolutely, your yoga breathing meditation, if you like it and love it, for sure you can use that as well. Does that answer all your questions?
It does. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. Okay, everyone. I think that's it. I hope you guys have had enough information about the cleanse. If you looking at the cleanse, take a look at the early bird registration. Like I said, is starting today for about a week, and I think registration will be open for a couple of more weeks. So check into that. We have to get people registered early because it takes a while to get everything shipped to them so they can start on time. If you have any other questions, please contact us at lifespa.com or on my email at john@lifespa.com. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next month. We talk about women's health, then we talk about child psychology, then we talk about if you were diagnosed with cancer, what would you do to change your life for the better, and why can't we do it now, today, without that diagnosis? It's going to be powerful next couple of months with our podcast, so please check into those. All right, thanks for listening. Hi, did you like this video? Do you like our content here at LifeSpa? You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/John Douillard right here and get this valuable content every week in your inbox.
This recording is brought to you by LifeSpa, where ancient Ayurvedic wisdom meets modern science. Get access to free health video newsletters by Dr. John at lifespa.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.